Likutey Maran Tanina Period Zay. Arizal says, Aruch Zohar Yerushalmi b'Shabbos. Person must be very careful to be very happy and good natured on Shabbos. Shabbos Minor in the Kedusha, the holiness of Shabbos is very great and very precious as is brought. What more is followed? Arizal, especially in Sefer Reshis Chachma and B'Shara Kedusha in the beginning, study that carefully. Rabbi Nachman, Reshis Chachma B'Shara is fitting right to find Reshis Chachma B'Shara Kedusha, Moshe Liber Yehetiv Al Kol Advorim Hanemorim Shon Binyan Kedusha Sumal Shabbos Kodesh. Concentrate carefully on all the things that are written there about the Kedusha and the Malas of Shabbos Kodesh. Ki yesh shom kama dvorim protiyim yikorim Kedusha Sumal Shabbos. Many special things said there that are very important about the Kedusha Sumal Shabbos. He called Inyanim Ma'ala Hanema Shom Al Shabbos. We don't have to ask what every Inyanim Ma'ala said about Shabbos. There's a separate thing, each one individually. We hovering Shom Heitev and understand that carefully. It's hard to become inspired to be Kabbalah Shabbos with a very great simcha, powerful simcha as it should. Hayira b'shleimus. To be Kabbalah Shabbos with simcha, to this, the Yiras Hashem become b'shleimus, complete. The Hayira in Das, because then it is with Das. And the Yira is with Das, and that's when the Yira is complete. The Bechayil, Efshe Sheyira, Hayira, and Kesibus. During the weekdays, it's possible the year should be with foolishness, not with das. The China, as it says in the posek, your Yura comes across foolishness. Many reasons for this opposite of das. This ksibus is because of the yoke and slavery that exists during the weekdays. They have shibud in a das showing. Because of the shibud, the das is not complete. Meshikasat Mayav says about the posek about Mayav, Sha'anan Mayav, Menihuyov. Mayav is settled from his youth, so the Gerolei Holach and he didn't go out and goes. He is settled, he hasn't got the Shibud, Al Ken Oma Tamay Bay. Therefore, his Tam, his reasoning, his Das is clear. My Shulchan is arguing what it says, the Shibud, the Golus, but to this yoke and this Golus, Hadas Mabubu. The Das is confused. Abo b'Shabbos u'Chedus. On the Shabbos is not a time of Shibud. Shabbos is a time of Chedus, of freedom. Kriyesh Chedus v'yein Shibud v'Golus, and I have Das shown to now. And when there is freedom, there is no Shibud v'Golus, and the Das is complete. Ikerach Chedus, the main freedom of Shabbos is, they had Tanug, they had Simcha Shal Shabbos, with the Tanug, the pleasure and Simcha of Shabbos. B'chinas Os is Anag al Hashem Hanem of Shabbos. And by Shabbos you have it's Anag, you have Tanug of Shabbos. Finally, there's then also Chedus, and through the Simcha of Shabbos, there is created this freedom. The Bechina is to the Simcha Seitzayim. Through Simcha you go out of Golos. You become free. The Simcha Yitzum Chedus. The Simcha you go out to freedom. Kriyesh Chedus, and when there is Chedus, Hadas B'Shleimus come out. Then the Das is complete. When there is Golos, there is no Das. When there is Chedus, there is Das complete. Then the Yira is as it should be. The Bechina is Yonei Shabbos. If then the Yira is with Das, that's Yonei Shabbos, which means the Yira is complete. Because then the Yira is without these foolishness Ksibus that there isn't during the weekdays. He can act Ksibus Machmas Hashibut come out. Because the main Ksibus is through the Shibut, through the yoke of Golos. But on Shabbos, since there is Chedus, there is no Ksibus. Remember, the Yira is one of Kedusha. Yira is with Das. But this you bring up, you perfect those Yiras that have fallen. The wrong type of Yiras. Behind all Mashim Yereim, if only they sad, they're afraid at times, and they're sad, they're officers, they're animals, such. They have Das, but even they son. But through the Das, they elevate these years in the fools. They can have Das with the Shabbos, they have Simcha. The main Das means on Shabbos with the Simcha, they say, yes, Shchenis, for there is freedom. They have Das, B'Shleimus, the freedom of Das, B'Shleimus. Then the year is also B'Shleimus. A person should conduct himself with a very great simcha Shabbos Kodesh. Should leave a higher shematz and dagig klal. Should not show any sign of sadness or worry at all. Backwards, Anag al Hashem or Harabas B'Tanug Shabbos B'Chol Min Tanug should be the Sunday Shabbatim. All kinds of pleasures on Shabbos. Hein Achila Shtia, Hein Bushin Ketim Ashiyachol, food, drink, good clothing according to how much you can afford. The Achilas Shabbos is Kula Ruchnius, Kula Kodesh. The eating on Shabbos is complete Ruchnius, it's pure spiritual and heavenly, is completely Kodesh. When it goes to a totally different place than the food during the week. The Menachem Mendel is found in different places in Likutey. The food of Shabbos that a person eats is completely Kodesh. There is no psalms to it all. It's purely Kodesh. And it also says, Benach Hashem Yisborach Lehabit Ala Teves Sha'isen. The nature is, Benach of Hashem Yisborach is to look only at the good things that a person does. The Akshin Intzeh Bohen, Gamkein Masha'inei Taif, Any Mistak Lazeh. Even if in these good things there are also things that are bad, that aren't good, Yisborach doesn't look at these things. He doesn't look at the crimes, the things that are wrong among the Jews. The Koshkin, therefore, certainly, a person surely shouldn't look at his friend in bad light to find after what isn't good. To find the things that are wrong in the Avodas Hashem and his friend. Like Adarabah, contrary, he has to look only at the good. Therefore, it's a big teva, a good thing that there exists teva and ashkacha. Teva means nature, and ashkacha means the ashkacha pratis for Hashem, and individually looks at each thing. When a person does good, Hashem leads him through ashkacha. Ashkacha pratis, individually Hashem looks at him. And when the person is not good, Hashem would watch him carefully on. This person couldn't get any good because of his evil deeds. So therefore Hashem leaves him go. It takes away the ashkach, lets him rest. Lets him conduct himself only through teva. Therefore it could be that through teva he could have goodness, because through teva so the good can come also. If it was only ashkacha pratis, this battle ha'ashkacha and gamri, he passed the ashkacha became completely bottled, that Hashem would look at him and all because of his bad, keep showing your as well, Hashem would see that the person doesn't make himself right, he'll become angry, he'll make the ashkacha and gamri, he'll take the ashkacha completely, so the person couldn't get any good at all. Now like these are according to the teva, now when he's bad, he doesn't go according to teva, so then he gets some good out of the teva, nature brings him with him. When he comes back to good, then Hashem gives him ashkacha pratis. What Rabbi Nachman says will be emes. In truth, we cannot understand what is meant by teva and hashkacha. How there can be a possibility to explain a difference between these two. To be emes in truth, in actuality, teva hi hashkacha yisporach. The teva itself, the teva itself is the hashkacha of Hashem. Hashem hu halikim. Halikim is teva, Hashem hu halikim, Hashem the hashkacha. That teva is the hashkacha. This, no person can understand these two things at the same time. The end will have teva, should be emes the hashkacha yisborach. Teva is the emes the hashkacha yisborach. How can you separate the two? Because teva is hashkacha Hashem. Baruch Hashem. Maran Tanino Tayyudes. Arizal Sakona Geberalias Meforsim Lihanizadam. There's a very great danger to be famous and to lead the world, to be publicized as a leader. Certainly the case where he's not fitted all for the leadership. He wears a talus that doesn't belong to him, meaning he puts on the talus of the leader when he's not fit to be one. So certainly in that case, not only then, like I feel every Hashem be emes, Gedeli Hadei, even those who are every Hashem be emes, great leaders every day, Yesh Alayim Zakonis Noyrois Benava Salem. They have unusual dangers that confront them when they lead the world. Ki Ish Pashut, because a simple person, ordinary person, Rachad Mi'oid, it's very uncommon, Shiyav et al Ritzicha. They should never commit the sin of murder. Even if he's not so religious, because he has no desire to commit the sin of murder. Even should he ever get to this taiva of committing a tzricha of murder, he doesn't get the opportunity. Many things are stopping him from committing it. Even if he should commit murder, he wouldn't commit murder more than rare times, only at certain times. And most probably he wouldn't commit murder more than one time in his entire lifetime. But in the case of leading, being the leader over the world, over the generation, being the Chadei Shalish Torah, Yechol Lav, Mamish, Ganev, Noah, Venetzach, the whole time of the whole Regach, then it's possible to commit the sin of stealing and niyuf and murder every time and every moment, Chas v'shalom. Therefore, it is a great danger to be a leader. The person who undertakes leadership, Chadusha Torah, should be extremely careful. Baruch Hashem. Maran Tanino Torah Yutes. Arizal says, Ikira Tachlis Yashleimus, Urak Lavei Hashem B'tmimus. The main tachlis for a person to be complete, to complete himself, is only to serve Hashem B'tmimus, with sincerity in the most simple manner. B'tmimus Gomor, complete tmimus, Li Shum Chachmas Klau, without using any chachmas, without any wise tricks or wise methods. Ki yesh mechakrim sha'imim. There are Mechakinim, philosophers who say, She'ikir HaTachlis v'Elam Haba. The main Tachlis, the goal of Elam Haba is, Urak Ladas Kol Dover Kameshahu, to know, to understand each thing in its real form. Going Leda HaKechav Kameshahu, to know the star in its true form. Leda Mahusai, to know its type. And to know the inner reason why the star is placed at that spot. Ki yesh maskil, umuskal, v'seichel. The power with which to think, the aseichel b'atzmai, the seichel itself, the thought itself, the wisdom itself, the adover hamuskal, and the thing that is being understood. Zehu hatachlis v'ha'elam haba etzlam, the tachlis and haba by them, by these mechakilim, is sheyihi yanase echad mehamaskil v'hamuskal v'aseichel. They should become one out of these three. Maskil, muskal, and seichel should become one. The person should be able to understand with his seichel perfectly the thing that he has to understand. They spend their entire time on this this world, to investigate, to achieve hamuskalis, the things that have to be understood. That's the goal by them. According to their opinion, this is the Elam Haba itself. This world, when they are in the form of a body, physical form, they don't have much pleasure from this delving into this philosophy. But in the middle of one day will release themselves from this body, from the physical, then they'll have the real pleasure from this. And according to their evil daya, the main means of achieving this tachlis is through their chakirus and their evil chachmas. Avo be emes, but in truth, emes etzlenu by us, ikir hasogas atachlis urak al yedei emuna u mitzvahs maisiyos. The main means of achieving the tachlis is only through emuna and actually carrying out mitzvahs and lave the Hashem al pi ha-Torah, to serve Hashem according to the Torah, the tmimus of the shitas, with sincerity and with simplicity. Through this, through serving Hashem at Mimus, a person can be zecher to the real heaven, the Gan Eden, which no person here has a hasog in. That before Chachma comes Yiras Hashem. The main thing that comes first, and before the Chachma, Hurak Yiras Hashem. His only Yiras Hashem, meaning should tzaddik haktim hayir li'achachma. He has to place the Yira first before the Chachma, and then he'll be zecher to the Chachma. In other words, you have to have first the Emunah, which is Yira, mitzvah spesios. For this, a person can be zecher to the true Chachma. Teda, and Arizal says, proof, she'ein hadavar kedat kam chas v'shalom. The truth is not like their false opinions of the Mechakim. Because if it was like they said Chas v'shalom, then very, very few could ever reach a tachlis. Only the great minds of the philosophers could get to this tachlis. What can small people do? People who haven't got such a wisdom, such deep seichel like them. What can they do? Lachke, Chakides, the Das, and the scholars. They haven't got the sechel to be able to delve deeply into this philosophy, to understand the scholars. Things have to be understood. Such people make up the majority of the world who haven't got this deep sechel. How will they be able to achieve the tachlis? According to them, they're cutting out the majority of the world from the tachlis of their Hadach HaShem. The end of the truth is, Ikar HaSagas HaTachlis Hu Rak Ayadei Tlimus Daika. Made HaSagas HaTachlis, to achieve the tachlis is only through Tlimus. The Hainu meaning Yiras Hashem, with mitzvahs, Maisiyas, with Kritas Gomer. To fear Hashem, and do mitzvahs, Maisiyas, with plain, simply carrying them out. This is the Pshat, the posek Seif Dover HaKel Nishma. The end, last thing is, so the Kim Yirah, this is Eisel Shemer. Fear Hashem, and obey the mitzvahs. Kizekal Adam, this is the entire person. Meaning Sheshleme HaMelech Rav Hashem Melamed Eisanu, Shana teaches us Sheikir HaSagas HaTachlis Shehu B'china Seif Dover, the main achieving of the Tachlis, which is Seif Dover, which means the end, the goal. Hurak Ayadei Tlimus Upshitus, find the Tlimus and Pshitus L'Yiras Hashem, to fear Hashem, L'Rishmeh Mitzvahs of the Pshitus. Plain, simply to carry out the mitzvahs in the most simple form. Zehu Seif Dover HaKel Nishma, so the Kim Yirav is the Seif of Shemor. Zeh b'china tlimus u'pshitas l'yiras Hashem l'kayim mitzvahs l'bi'uvda b'shitas kanal. The Kim Yirah, to fear Hashem means b'tlimus, mitzvahs l'shmer b'shitas, the carrot mitzvahs, and that's the Seif Dover, that's the tachlis. Zeh Shesi, and this is what Samuel finishes in the pasuk. He ends the pasuk with Kizeh Kol Adam. That's the whole person, meaning kind of Kizeh Yochol Kol Adam. Kizeh Kol Adam means every person can do this. Yochol Kol Adam l'kayim l'hasig al deizos tachlis. Because this, every single person can do. It's not confined to a limited number of people, but every person can carry this Eitzah, and to achieve this Eitzah the Tachlis. Me'acha, because since Sheikah, who so the Kim Yirah, that's the Shemai, since the main Ikah, the main thing is to have Yiras Hashem and to obey mitzvahs. Okay, therefore, Yachol Kol Adam L'Hasig HaTachlis, Kizek Kol Adam Yachol L'Kayim. Therefore, every person, even the Masig HaTachlis, each person can carry this Eitzah. The Emes Abayel says, "Who Isur Godol Mi Oid Lihiyos Mechake Chas V'Sholom." That is a very big Isur Di Mechake, the philosopher, the Lomad Tzitei Achachmas Chas V'Sholom, to learn their books of the trashy Chachmas Chas V'Sholom. That Tzadik Hagodol Mi Oid. Only the Tzadik was very great. The Tzadik Emes himself, who Yachar Lehachmas Atzmei Bozeh, he is allowed to let himself go into this Lomad Asher Achachmas, to learn these 7 wisdoms that exist in the world. Because any person who goes into these chachmas can fall there. He can have a feel there, remain. There is an even negev, a stumbling block in each chachma, which is a bechira of Amalek. Through this even negev, the person who goes in it can fall over this chachashon and fall there and have Yerida. Someone was a philosopher, and he denied the existence of Hashem. He didn't fear Hashem, he had no fear at all. He didn't have any emunah. He conducted himself only through his chachmas, but he had no yiras Hashem at all. So that's the union of Amalek and Mechakir and Sheva Chachmas. This is the Eben Neged, that's the stumbling block, the person who goes into these Sheva Chachmas. Avalat Tzadik, Shenichnas B'Yela Sheva Chachmas, but when the Tzadik Emes goes into these Sheva Chachmas, Machzik Atzma, he contains himself, he controls himself, he strengthens himself, and this Kayim Al Amda, he remains solidly on his position, on his Madrega, and they Emunah through the Bechina of Emunah. The Bechina of Tzadik, but also Yechia. It says that the Tzadik remains alive, means he remains where he is, his Kiyam, through Emunah. Through Emunah he remains on his Madrega and it doesn't fall, Chassidut. Sheva Yipol Tzadik Zikom. Because he says there is Sheva Yipol Tzadik Zikom. These 7 chachmas Yipol, it's possible to fall, but the Tzadik remains standing on his Madrega. And Shad Tzadik Hagodol Hanoch Terechelo Sheva chachmas. Tzadik Emes goes in the path of these Sheva chachmas. Yaakov Isha Shom Yechon Lehachlik, the Lipol, they have a negative, Chinas Amalek Canal, or their person can slip and to fall through this Eben Negev, this block, the stone with the Chinas Amalek. Avalat Tzadik, Sheva Yipol, the Koma, the Emunah Canal. But the Tzadik can go through this place where you can fall these Sheva Chachmas, he remains the Koma, he remains standing, he remains upright through Emunah. This is the pasuk says, Sheva Yipol, Tzadik the Koma, Sevitevis Amalek. This pasuk, the last letters make up the word Amalek, Shuhu Eben Negev Shel Sheva Chachmas, He is the Eben Negev, this block of it's found in the Sheva Chachmis. Shayada, you let him have shown. This Eben Negev, the person who has shown falls there in the Sheva Chachmis. Had tzadik, but the tzadik, Sheva Yipro, he goes into this Sheva where there is this Eben Negev, they call Magadei Emunah Kanal. He remains standing on, he remains on his Magadei through Emunah. Zeshik Kosev Moshe Rabbeinu, says the Moshe Rabbeinu, Vahi Yodav Emunah, but Mechem Amalek. And during his battle with Amalek, it says Vahi Yodav Emunah. It says, use the word Emunah, Ki Ayadei Emunah Hechlish Es Amalek. Through Emunah he weakened Amalek, Dehainu HaChachmas Yachkinis Kanal. He weakened these chachmas and chakidus. Vahi Yodav Emunah, this pshat Yodav Emunah. Yodav Hayam Bechinas Mitzvahs and Maisiyos, Shehem Bechinas Emunah. Yodav means Mitzvahs and Maisiyos, but Bechinas Emunah, because all Mitzvahs Maisiyos are Emunah. Especially because it comes to Sech Emunah. All Mitzvahs of Hashem are Bechinas Emunah. Shayidei Emunah, Mitzvahs Maisiyos, Shehem Hepach Bechinas Amalek, Yachlishe Kanal. The Mitzvahs Maisiyos, which are the opposite of Amalek, who's Achaker, Machakes, and he made Amalek weak. Emunah is Tefillah. Emunah is Tefillah Kamesh Targum, Trisham and Slide. Targum is possibly here. The Emunah is a Trisham and Slide. His hand is spread out in Tefillah. Yet Tefillah Mishana Teva. Tefillah changes nature. And this battle, Chachmas Yachkidas Shehem Yacham Teva. And all these Chachmas and Chakidas philosophy which go according to nature become completely bottled, void through Tefillah which changes nature. This is the main Tachlis Vayash. He had Tefillah Mechlelos Biakusi is bottom. And our Tefillah should become Mechlal in Hashem Echad. Mechinas Hu Tehillah Secha V'Hu Alekecha. Tehillah means Tefillah. Hu Alekecha become one together with Hashem. Tefillah should be Splach Echad Kaviyachal. The Moshe become one with Zel. Ikar Tachlis Be'emes. This is the main Tachlis Be'emes. And it also says the Mechakim and the Akayfim and the Fashim Kol HaTorah Kula B'Chachmas V'Kiruv Shalahem. Mechakim and the Akayfim explain, interpret the entire Torah through the Chachmas and Apikursus. Kol HaTorah Yachil Mitzvahs Maasiyos HaKsuvim B'Torah V'Fashim HaKol B'Tzura V'Seichel. The entire Torah, even Mitzvahs Maasiyos that are written in the Torah, they explain all according to the form and Seichel. It means everything has a earthly Seichel to it. Lani Boy Maasiyos HaKsuvim B'Torah. In the case of my stories themselves that are written in the Torah, surely in that case, they say that only means to tell us something about a nimshal, and the form that is behind the story. Behind the sichlius shelahem means their sichlius. Not only the story, but even the mitzvahs maasiyos that are explained in the Torah, that are written out clearly in the Torah, mitzvahs that require action. Even those, they explain Shehem Menachem Mendel Schneerson that the Menachem is only on their sichlis and chachmas. They deny completely the fact that this is a plain pashtius, plain simple action of the mitzvah. They don't believe in the simple action of the mitzvah, that there's sichlis behind it. This is what the Medrash says. Amalek cut the milos, and he threw them upwards towards heaven. Mila was the first mitzvah that Avraham Avinu was commanded on. He was the first one of the Bali Amunah. Amalek should be the philosopher of Kaifim. Amalek, who stands for the philosopher of Kaifim, who Kaifim b'chol mitzvahs and the Fanish HaKal Shechus Devadkana. He denies the fact that this mitzvah Maisius means to actually do the mitzvah the way it's written. He says that there's only sichlis in it. He cuts off this milah from the pashtius. He denies in this mitzvah itself, and he throws it upwards to the seichel. He goes to explain everything only according to sichlius. The kaitim bastiyas and mitzvahs, and they deny the actual deed of the mitzvah itself. They say there's only sichlius there. Ashrei mi she'ini yedei mehem klal. Ashrei to the person who doesn't know about these machaknim and philosophem at all. Al-Kain Ikeh Hachna Osoi Al-Yadei Emunah. Therefore, Ikeh Hachna, to machnia, to lower, to defeat, to wipe out this Chakidus and philosophia, is only through Emunah. Not to even go into any arguments with the philosophers at all, not to discuss it with them, only to have simple Emunah. Bechinas Vayihi Yodor Emunah Kanal. Yodor Emunah means the Tefillah which is Mishana Teva. The Tefillah Mishana Teva. That way we destroy their philosophy, because their philosophy works only according to Teva. Our Tefillah, which is Mishana the Teva, changes Teva, that itself destroys the philosophy. The Emunah is the union of Emunah and Tefillah. So he said, Torah Shemati Mipevach Kodesh V'Yatzmoi. Rosenfeld says this Torah is not here for the Rabbeinu Zohar himself. Yahya Bashmotis Mizah. It's more about this than Yashmotis. Baruch Hashem. Manan Tamina Tana Chav, Shaykh Yaakov Beis Chodesh. Then it also says, like, they have Machlekes Yesh Ba'imam, the Machlekes that exist in the world, like, they say, Nasin, that for some Kedim's Manam. This, people become, for some, they become leaders, become famous before the time that they should have become. And one person begins to go into Avodas Hashem, who tzorech lishhais, who is rameach, he spasam b'elam, has to wait, has to take time before he can become famous. They began a machlekes and spasing Kedim's money. But in the beginning of machlekes, it becomes famous before his time. By they zehim gunim hezikli hesed leisha zesh nasim enforcing Kedim's money. This the bal machlekes cause they bring about damage and loss to this person when he becomes famous before his time. By gamli haderech Avodas Hashem shall yezered shel galas b'elam. Cause damage to the derech and Avodas Hashem, which is person wanted to be megalit to reveal in the world. The azay gunim nisa l'bali machlekes. These bal machlekes cause Misa, they cause death for themselves. At times, She'ena began Gadol Kol Kach, when they began the Bamachak is not so big, as I got them Anius, and they bring about poverty to themselves. In other words, the penalty is either if it's big Madarega, big Bechinas Machlekes, they cause death for themselves. It's only in the Lama Madarega they cause themselves poverty. This side about the Bamachakes causes damage, and the penalty for themselves is explained in the Torah. Posek V'Chiyinotzo Anashim Yachtav. Two men will have a battle. They will strike a pregnant woman. And the children will come out. Children will die. It says there that two things can happen. Either there's no accident happening to the woman herself, and the woman remains alive, and then the penalty is that they've got to pay. The woman dies, then there's a question as to whether they get that penalty for it too. And as I'll take is this according to what he just said. When a person begins to go into a derech, in Avodas Hashem, who bechinas heiloyin, it's a bechina of pregnancy. He has to cloak himself and hide himself there in a bechina of ibur, just like a child is cloaked within, hidden. That's how this person going to Avodas Hashem being cloaked. He had died when his galas there derech ba'elam, because this derech still was not revealed in the world. Back when nechnas l'shom legalos, he's first going in there to reveal it. It means to give birth to this. Then is the bechina first of heroin of the pregnant stage. The bechina is derech chachma harisicha. Derech chachma harisicha. That means they became pregnant with this derech of chachma before birth. Bechina is heroin. The tzorech lish has shown that he's got to wait there. He has to take time there. Lechamim atzmai shom, to warm himself there. Just like a blood, the child with the me'imai inside his mother. Has to wait, until the time will come when he can go out to the light of the world, to be able to reveal his derech in the world. And when he goes out before his time, it's a bechina of nefel, a woman who is mapio, meaning a miscarriage, which she gives birth to a dead child. There's two, when a person goes out before his time, before the time is ready for him to become espousing, before it's ready to be megal and derech. It's also bechina of nefel. This begam of nefel comes through this machlekes. People on machlekes who argue, who bring out this derech before the time. This is what's meant in the posek. When two men will argue, this speaks about the machlekes. Through this machlekes, they will strike in each other, and the children will come out. This bechina of nefolim, Yotzidan means that the bechina of nefolim, nefel. She's mapping them. He has a miscarriage, she will come out before the time. This means that before some, those who become famous before their time, they are bechina of nefolim also. The einsham, the penalty for Yidal Machlekes is misa oini, either death or poverty, but fi hapigam kanal, according to how much they were pregnant. And this is says further in the pasuk, if there will not be an accident. Says Be'isha. That means if the woman remained alive, there was nothing happened to her. That these Bamachayas did not spoil, they did not do harm to the derech chachma itself. which carried this new thing. The Pchinas Isha Hara. Rak Yafsidu HaNefolim, they only caused damage to the Nefolim. Yehenu HaNoshim B'yatzmom, Sh'nesparsimu, B'yotzubenum, Kedizmanum. Whom did they do damage to? Only these people themselves, who became Nesparsim. They came out into the world, famous before their time. But to the Isha Hara, the means of the Chachma itself, they did not do any damage. Only to the people who were going into the Chachma. Just like in the Isha Hara, when they strike her. And she is Mapil, Children cannot, Yesh Beis Bechinas. There are two categories there. I know should have followed. He must said this in a fall of Adam. At times she only loses these Nephilim, these children. She will not tell us Isam, she's Mapil them because they came out before the time. Well, upon at times, Gamba Yishora be Atzma, even this woman herself is hurt, and she passes away because of this. So to this form of Bechina. I know meaning, Shalom, this sudden Hanoshim Biatzmon, Shnisparsamu, Pedensmanum, Shem Bechinas Nephilim. At times these people become, for some, they become famous before the time, which means that they are these Nephilim. These children who come out before the time, these men come out, the first time before the time they should become famous. It's in the Nephilim before the Hedonian was finished. But this Derech Chachma itself was not the Stalik, it wasn't harm, only the Nephilim themselves. The Derech Chachma remained solid, and this Derech Chachma is still in existence, it's still in perfect form. So others can become this Abeder, they can go to this Derech Chachma, and they should come out possibly in the correct time. Just in the case of Isha Hara, she lost her children, but she can give birth again and have good children afterwards. So if only by that time, this is like Gam HaDerech Chachma B'Atzmai. At times even Derech Chachma itself becomes lost. Or even another person, a different person couldn't go into this Derech Chachma anymore, the B'Chinas Hiloyin, like Galas Mahimtzizah Derech Leilam, to be able to bring out and reveal this Derech to the world. She's the B'Chinas Misa Isha Hara Kanal. She's the B'China of the woman herself who died. So if the Epigam, according to the Epigam, she's called Machlekes or Pagan, Kain Ha'inish, so the penalty is as the Torah explains. In Ma'yihya also in the Isha, if nothing happened to the woman, there was no accident with the woman, or the Shiyanish Malamas, then the penalty is money. Hainam Aniyus, meaning poverty, Shanasik, which comes about, Kishain Epigam Gobel Kolkachtanal. When the Epigam is not so big, the Chachma wasn't harmed, then there's poverty, they got to pay for it by losing their money. In the also in the Isha, but if there is an accident with the woman, because that the Derech Chachma itself should become lost. As I will Sakat Nefesh Tachas Nefesh in the Misa Canal. And the penalty is death, because they cause death to the woman, meaning the Derech Chachma itself. The Derech Chachma itself was lost of it, but the penalty is death. Hashem Yatzilenu shall help us, save us from these body machlekes, becoming a person that was runner. We should be Zechad B'Yevid Hashem, with Emerson between us. Amen. Baruch Hashem. Menachem Mendel Schneerson, you have these known clippers to look for it. The Torah Lehamid Enshi Chayil Lehamidam of Mehem Leachrem Kadesh Leyiskari Zor. You have to have these Enshi Chayil, people of power, to stay in the front of the Kedusha Torah and behind it. That the strangers, these clippers, shouldn't come close to them. Say Nasa, the name of that posek. These Enshi Chayil mean the name of the posek, learning the Shulchan Aruch. Torah Lehamid poskim Kaidem Achidish and Achadesh Yahakach. You have to learn poskim Shulchan Aruch before you say Kedusha Torah and afterwards. These are the Enshi Chayil protected. Like they say, Nasim Dechinas Anshi Chayim Alafneim Leachrem. For this, you have created these Anshi Chayil before, in front of, and behind the Kedusha Torah. You got Torah Yeredus Vanachas B'Neim Lefetach, and the Torah goes in between these Anshi Chayil securely without being attacked. So you have Anshi Chayil in them in a Klei Zayin, the Inan Yochelim Elanel Eskari. Anshi Chayil stand there with weapons, the Shulchan Aruch halachos, and these you do, and these clippers cannot come close to the Kedusha Torah. The Torah remain completely protected. Baruch Hashem. Then you have person lowering himself People make a very big mistake. Meaning they consider themselves low. Ki haloi kama onu miyagin atzmeinu ba'avodis v'tfilo k'nei lotzei simechen v'katnas l'mechen v'gadlus. Because how much do we struggle in Avodas Hashem and in Tefillah to go out of mechen v'katnas, small mind, to go into mechen v'gadlus, to become great. In Keni, we can't say achno means simply we should actually be lower ourselves actually. Because if somebody goes into madrigas katnas altogether, mechen v'katnas, which is bad. Therefore we must say that there must be this hachno with das in it. It means hachno which has mechen, das, and gadlus, mechen and gadlus. And therefore not every person can be in honor the way he should be. Real madrigas anibus, like Moshe Rabbeinu of Hashem, who hoya honor mikol ha'odam ashal pnei hadama. Only Moshe Rabbeinu of Hashem had the madrigas anibus more than any other person in the world. So he had the true madrigas anibus. They say there's al koru la'anova she'inei koroi chanufa. The Gemara calls anova, which is not fit, chanufa, meaning he lowers himself in order to flatter somebody to get something out of it. Hashem Arizal, the Gemara says, "I'll give me anovi, show you onov neged anovi shekeh hananya." He was an onov next to the novi shekeh hananya. The Amalai, and he said to him, "Bechno omein kenyas Hashem." The Novi Hananya said that this Golus Bava will return. They will also return the Klei Kodesh in the Beis HaMikdash. He was another sheker, so Navi said to him, lowering himself further, and he said, Onei Kenyas Hashem, which of course was an union of famous Techanufa, the flattery, because he's another sheker. The Amar Rabbi Seina Zawazeh, called HaMachnif, a person who is Machnif, who gives Chanufa to a person who is not fit, a Saif, Neifil, Biyad Benai, Biyad Ben Benai. In the end, he falls into the hands of his son, his descendant. He fell into the hands, he was captured by the grandson of Hananya. Therefore, a person has to be very careful not to fall into a hachnoah of sheker, a false type of hachnoah, false type of anivus, because that's considered flattery and that's a puzzle. A person has to be careful to have anivus, but combined with das. He went to Menachem Mendel with anivus. Baruch Hashem. And it also is Dinya Simcha Minya, Simcha of Himoshel. For example, when a group of people are happy and they dance, they go to Kudim, Azai, Chlitzim, Ish Echad Bachutz, they grab a person who's standing on the outside, Shul be Atzis and Modish Chayde, he's very sad and depressed. They bring him into the circle of those who are dancing against his will by force. They force him to be happy with them. So too we find it in Simcha. When a person himself is happy, so his his sufferings and his worries that he has are pushed off to the side. That's a very good madrega. Drop them, forget about them, put them aside, and go into Simcha. But Mali Yisayda, a much better Indian is Hametz, Lizer Achar Hamona Shchayda Dafko, Hachnes Isa Gamke Mesecha Simcha. To be very strong, to run after the Mona Shchayda Dafka, to bring the Mona Shchayda itself into the Simcha. That the Mona Shchayda itself should become changed into Simcha. Shehapech Hamona Shchayda, the whole Hayisurim with Simcha, that the Mona Shchayda and Yisurim itself should be turned into Simcha, Kedele Chamola Secha Simcha. Like when it comes into Simcha, she owes me Gedela Simcha, V'yachedva V'yachach Chalad Daigas, V'yahatzas, Mona Shchayda, Sinala Simcha. When he goes into the Likutey, the Simcha, so he changes all his Mona Shchaydas and his sadness and his worries, he changes all that to Simcha. Nimsa Shechayte from Mona Shchayda, U'machnes Aiso, B'yad Korkala Secha Simcha, K'moshal Now. It means that he grabs the Mona Shchayda itself and brings it into the Simcha itself, just like the Moshe before, by grabbing a person who stands on the side and forcing him into the Simcha. Zebachina Sosim, the Simcha Yasigel, V'nosa Yogam Anocha. Yogam V'anocha, Berchim, V'nosa Min HaSimcha. Yogam Anocha itself, the sadness, Anocha, run away from the Simcha. They don't want to join in the Simcha. Because at the time of Simcha, Benecha Yogam Anocha is to stand on the side. They have forgotten, they're not going on the side. But you have to run after them. Well, he has Sigam to reach them, to capture them, Hagiyam, to bring the Moshe Feinstein into the simcha. They will reach, they will overtake, they will capture the Yom HaMenacha, which are running away from the simcha. They have this Arizal, to bring them against their will into the simcha. Yes, Yom HaMenacha shehem asifra achro. There's Yom HaMenacha which are actually the sifra achro. Shehem retzim liyas mekava l'kedusha. They refuse to become mekava to the kedusha. And the main kedusha is where there is simcha. If there's Hashem simcha, Yalkin him berchem and simcha. Therefore they flee. They run away from the simcha. Alkin so they achliach oisam l'soicha kedusha dainu simcha me'alkacham kanal. Therefore you have to force them into the kedusha, which is the simcha, against their will. Which means simply that when a person has worries, so you've got to look the ayin in these worries, in this suffering that he has, and find the happy point about it, the mahapech, Torah happily. And in this time of Torah, you'll find the Yaakov there and change it to simcha. To be happy about the Torah. To know that it's for your own favor. To be not to make a bracha, be b'simcha, even the thing which is in Torah. To bring the Yom HaMenacha itself into the simcha and change it completely into the Dvar Simcha. Baruch Hashem. It's a very big mitzvah to be continually b'simcha. To strengthen himself, to estrange, to keep the atzros, the sadness of at a distance, using all his power to do so. All sicknesses that come to a person has a shalom kulam boy right all come because the simcha itself is spoiled. Because there are 10 kinds of negina, of negina which are a bechina of simcha. Which talks of alei osir, 10 kinds of negina, alei novel, kis machtani, Hashem b'folacha. It says there, alei osir, kis machtani, that these 10 negina are bechina simcha. These 10 kinds of negina, they come into the 10 kinds of pulses that are in a person, and they give life to these pulses, these basikin. As Tikuney Zohar, the Arizal brings very clearly the last to the Mises and Tikuney Mises. Okay, and therefore, when there is a kilkul pegam the simcha, which is the bechina of the 10 kinds of negina, so this become these sicknesses from the 10 kinds of basic pulses which become spoiled through the fact that the 10 kinds of negina which are the simcha is spoiled. Because all kinds of chalas are nechlal in these 10 basic. So to all kinds of negulim are nechlal in these 10 kinds of negina. According to how the simcha negina is spoiled, that's how sickness comes. Also the wise, the stupid doctors also speak about this at length. All kinds of sicknesses come through Moshe Feinstein and sadness. The simcha is a very big, a big cure. In the future, the simcha will become very much increased. That's what the Gemara says. Also, the Hashem will be the head of the circle of tzadikim in the future. They make this circle for the kiruv. He'll make a circle for tzadikim. He'll be the head of the circle of the kiruv. Because the Gemara says that the Shechina rests at the head of the bed, by the head of the sick person. Hashem supports him on the bed of pain. The Chayil himself has no life at all of his own. Only the Shechina gives him life. Through simcha, all sicknesses will become perfected and cured. Through simcha, which is the cure for all kinds of chalas. And Hashem will be Reish Chayla. Chayla is a circle. Chayla also means a sick person. The Shechina at the head of the Chayla will be the head of this Mechayl, the simcha of dancing. Yeah, simcha bechinas tikkun achelik kanal, because simcha is the bechina tikkun for the person who is sick. So the shchila means that the shchina supports the sick person. How? The shchila being the head of the simcha. The simcha is what cures him. Therefore, the simcha is also called chila. So in tikkun achelas kanal, because they are tikkun for chelas. That's why, too, we can say that the posek is Hashem Yisadenu al Eres Davoy. The Zaydik says that Eres is the union of Eser. Actually, Davoy is also, basically, is Yud. But Yisadenu, so what? The Yud, meaning a Gina, which is in the Simcha. The Klal Rabbeinu says, it certainly is Gavemi Oid B'chol HaKrechus Liyis Ach Sameach Tov. A person must strengthen himself with all his power to always be only in Simcha. Nature of a person is to be drawn generally to sadness, to the depressive state of mind, because of the rough life that he goes through. Every person is filled with Yisurim. He has to force himself with be besimcha always. To make himself happy during his simcha with anything that's possible. Whatever he could. Even things of shtus, foolishness, in order to get the simcha, he also should use. Although Leib Nishbar is a very high matter, they get to have a broken heart, to feel bad about the fetus. Calls it Hurak is a sure. Still, it's good only for a short period of time. It's only right that he should set aside an hour, a certain hour of the day, to have a Leib Nishbar, to speak all his worries, as he sudim, sort of speak out his blindness before Hashem, as is brought many times in the words of the Arizal. But the rest of the day, the entire day, he must be besimcha. Because if a person would continue to be Leib Nishbar, it's very easy to get from Leib Nishbar to Modesh Chayda, because the boundary is so thin there between Modesh Chayda and Leib Nishbar that it's very dangerous. So therefore, Leib Nishbar should be only for a short period of the day, and the rest of the time is being simcha. Because from Leib Nishbar, it's easier to get the Modesh Chayda and be Yisr Yashi Yachel Leikoshel Ayadei Simcha Chas V'Sholem Lo B'Leiza Hailus Chas V'Sholem. Easier than it is to get from any kind of simcha to Hailus means a rowdy type of simcha, which is not a simcha kedusha. It's closer. The boundary is so much narrower there. Easier to get from leiv nishpa, which is good, from the shchayda, which is bad, than to get from than to take the risk. It's better to take the risk of being besimcha with a slight chance of falling into the headless. Okay, so here besimcha tamid. Person shows you besimcha, rak b'shom yuchedes yeh leiv nishpa. Only one certain hour of the day, you should have leiv nishpa in his business. Baruch Hashem. Put them in Anthony or Torah Chotay. Then it says highest prejudice who Mila or Yenu or Gedelim Rakal. Prejudice is the highest Mila and higher than all other Milas. Higher than all other Madregas Samidas. The Hainu like Divaya Loy or Kaponim Shor or Yisrael is bedded Lavade is a Cheder Basada. To set aside a time, at least an hour or more, to speak privately between himself and Hashem in some private room or out in the field. Alone. To speak out whatever he has in his heart, his feelings, betainas, amaslois, with complaints and tainas, bedivdei chen, veritu, yupiyus, with special words to the melitza, to beg, to appease, lavakesh, or lischanim, lafonaviyas to plead, beg before Hashem, sheikadavai edel, lavidosei bemis, to bring him close, lavidus Hashem bemis. Tefillah v'sicha, zu yihi b'lashin shemedabim bai. This tefillah, sicha, this speaking to Hashem, should be in the language that people speak generally. Meaning in Yiddish, in our land. Because Lashon HaKodesh is hard to speak out all that he has on his mind. Because a person is not accustomed to that language continually. Also, the heart is not drawn after these words, he can't concentrate on them. Because he's not so accustomed to the language. He aimed at a Canaan Ladav of Lashon HaKodesh. It's not our custom, our habit to speak Lashon HaKodesh. But in Lashon Ashkenaz and Yiddish, which we speak continually, it's much easier to be able to have a leiv nishpor, to break his heart in speaking with these words. Because the heart is drawn as chassid to Lashon Ashkenaz since he's used to it. Lashon Ashkenaz yachal lefarish kol sichasei. There's kol hashirim levava yasiach v'yisapeh l'fonav yisborach. Yiddish, you can explain everything, speak it out clearly, speak before Hashem. Ein chanoto tshuva al ha'ovar, both tshuva regrets for the past, and by koshos tachnunim liskos l'iskara v'eva v'yisborach l'hayem v'hola b'yemes. And also pleading, words of pleading before Hashem, to be zechet, to come closer to Hashem, from now on and further b'yemes. Each person goes to Madreg. To be very careful to accustom himself to do this without fail every single day for a set hour. The rest of the day be besimcha. This custom, in spite of this, is very, very high Madrega. It's a derech and Eitz Teva, best one to come close to Hashem. This is a general Eitzah that takes in all other Eitzahs. Because whatever he's lacking in Avodas Hashem, or if he's completely far from Avodas Hashem, and everything he should speak it out. He should plead, beg before Hashem. Even if at times he can't find any words at all, he can't open his mouth to speak before Hashem. This fact itself that he can't speak, still is good, the preparation. The fact that he's standing before Hashem, prepared. He wants, he desires to speak. That's also good. But only he can't. This itself is good. The fact that he's prepared, he wants to. The fact that there's the Nosson, he wants us to be inspired, that itself is very good. He can actually make a tefillah, this prayer from this itself, this fact itself. You should cry out to Hashem. You become so far from Hashem. You can't even speak before Hashem. You should plead with Hashem. You should have pity upon him. Hashem should open his mouth. Be able to disfollow to him. Should come and become a tzadikim. For some, we show that many great tzadikim, famous tzadikim, told that they reached their madrega only to this and Hagav is by this. They must kill Yavam Me'atzmai Gidul Malas and Hagazu Hurl and Mala Mala. A person of Asnech will understand by himself the greatness of this Maila, about the spirit of this, which is higher than all others. And he caught in the Adgudel. This Eitzah, this Beidus, is something that is alike for every person. Smallest to the greatest could use this Eitzah. Everybody can conduct himself with this and Hagav this Beidus. By the reach a very high madrega. Asher to the person who will continue with this Eitzah this Beidus. Also, it is very good to make from the Torah into Tefillah. The he learns, or he is a Maimah Torah from the Tzadik Emes. As I asked him, he's a Tefillah. He should make this Torah into Tefillah. I know Lavakesh, who is Chanin Lavonav Yisborach, I should pray before Hashem, Al Kol Ma Shenem Hashom Bi Oiseham Maimah, and all that was said in this Maimah from the Tzadik Emes, Mosa Yisligahu, Lo Belachozer. Will he be able to come to be able to obey all this? It means they should cry how far he is from this Madregas that the Tzadik Emes spoke about. The Lavakesh Mita Yisborach, she's like Kevel Lo Belachol Enem Hashom Bi Oiseham Maimah. Pray for Mashani should be lacking to reach all these madrigas that they mentioned this Maimah. Yamaskil ve'achavetz be'emes yilicha Hashem derech emes. One of us nechel and wants be'emes, Hashem will lead him derech emes. Yodem bi'atzmai dovim etachtav ve'ech nesnaig b'zeh. He'll understand himself deeply how to be nesnaig in this. Be'ofen she'yid one of the ve'chein ve'peinis nechonis, that his word should find favor. They should be correct. Kindness before Hashem, that Soisi is brought up to appease Hashem, should be Kadeu, Lavidas B'Yemes. They should be close to Hashem B'Yemes. Inyan of Sicha Zu, Eilu Lamakim Gavay on the Earth. This Inyan of Sicha, this Beredis, goes to a very high Mokim B'Shamayim. That, especially Kisha'isa Mitay Tefillah, is an Aseh, Shashuim, Gedelim, the Eid Lamal. This, there are created very great pleasures up above in heaven before Hashem. Baruch Hashem. Manan Tanina Toya Chavav Shaykh Lialaves. Then it says Chorafli Hafik Nishikrus, a person should stay away from shikrus, drunkenness. For the daktek, to be careful, Shalish Toshesami Yacholtai. He should not drink more than his ability, more than he can take. Kadesh Layolade Shikrus, he shouldn't have the shikrus. Be Atashtiyo, if he had cider, because a little bit drinking as is necessary, he Toivel Hafim Datai. It's very good to broaden his mind. The das is cloaked in chasodim. When he drinks with a measure according to what he can take, according to his own edach, and his mind becomes broadened and his mind becomes elevated. And the chasodim in which the mind is cloaked and is slabish, they become greater and heightened through his drinking. When the das becomes elevated, and the chasadim too become elevated and greater. The das is lumish in chasadim. Arizal, therefore the Gemara says, one who was appeased in drinking wine, what others can appease him when he drinks, and yesh midas kainai. He has the das of the Creator. The Creator is pleased with him. Mispate daika, chinas chasadim. The spot that they become appeased, and chasadim, it's chesed, shows out goodness. They have yayin and dollar and chasadim. And through the wine he drinks, so his chasadim become greater, elevated, because the wine becomes elevated. The greatness of the chasadim, maybe can become appeased. Although he wasn't fit, he should become appeased. There was so much wrong done against him. The chasadim, stomach was playing chasadim. Or Yaakov, yesterday, it could have been in anger. They have dollars chasadim, they have yayin and mispatik, because he hasn't got the plain chasadim. Chasadim became bigger through his drinking, therefore he's mispatik. A woman who drinks more than enough, he becomes shikr. and they become strengthened the power of the gevulos, the opposite of chasadim, and as they cast regis, there is created anger. At times the gevulos become so much stronger, the person can come to many evils. Chas v'shalom. That ben others should know. Shayidei shikdos shedechin kol hamitzvahs yiha as chodesh v'tziyah mesh ben shalom. That through shikdos, a person forgets all the mitzvahs from the as chodesh that the mesh ben shalom taught. Moshe Mulubash b'cholach Yacham Yisrael b'cholev v'ever. Moshe ben Mulubash and every Jew and each ever. Mazkir kol ever v'ever sheyaseh hamitzvah sheyachol yiseh ever. It reminds each ever to do the mitzvah which is shayach to that ever, to that organ. Kiramach mitzvah is connected to Ramach ever. Yours there are 248. This is I say corresponding to 248 ever organs in the body. And every ever has a mitzvah that corresponds to this ever. How can the defamation of the Mechayek, Shugimatria, Ramach, Meshman is called Mechayek, a lawgiver, is Gimatria 248, Shemaski, Ramach, mitzvahs cannot, because he reminds of the 248 mitzvahs. He reminds each Eber of a mitzvah that shaykh to it. Why they have shikras, shaykheh, chayson. If shikras, a person forgets about these warnings and these reminders, the chinas, peyishte, v'yishkach, Mechayek. He says, you drink, you forget the mechayek, the 248 mitzvahs. They hashtiya, the hashikah, sheichech, hamach mitzvah, shal meshikana. Drinking in shikas will forget that the mach mitzvahs and meshaveh. The sklapshus meshaveh evidem, this meshaveh is cloaked in the evidem, bi'atzmai mechinas is sklapshus hadas b'chasodim kanal. This itself is the mechina of the das being cloaked in the chasodim. The meshaveh hu das, the meshaveh is a das. The evidem, hem ramach, bechinas Avraham. Even about 240, Bechinah Abraham, which is the Gematria also 248. Ish HaChesed, which is the Gematria Nachman. Abraham is the Bechinah's Chesed, and Abraham is the Gematria 248, because these are the Nachman, the Bechinah Chesed. So Moshe Rabbeinu is a Das, he is Melubash in each one of the Evenim, that means a Das Melubash in the Chasadim. Therefore a person should drink only that which is enough for him. With this, the Chasadim become elevated. Zecha to the same as a das, same as a mechin, and Gdolas HaChasadim. Baruch Hashem. Kutem en Antonina Terach Zayin. Ben says Mishu Panis Chaydish Manik Shekad Negida. A person who is a leader, a tax collector. And he leads with kashrus and righteousness. He sees to it to place the burden of taxes upon each one as is fit for him, according to how he appraises each person on which he can afford, and do it righteously. To put a heavier burden on one and a lighter burden on the other, the way it should be. This, for being a manik bikashos, he's a battle of 4 meters to the ois, the Haino meaning, Arizal, Gilui Arayos, Shvechas Tamil, and Lashon Hara. These 4 meters to become battle through a person's manik bikashos. The side behind it is, Neder, Shanoidin, Tzvichin, L'Shalom Yad. Neder, a person makes a promise that if he's stuck, he has to pay immediately. Yami Achen, Idroi, Goyim, Elo Hadalad Midas Hadaha. One who delays paying off his neder, he is goyim, he brings about at least 4 meters noise. Kibisa, the neder shalom at miyakay. The neder shlois from Yaakov. Vino shebeshvil sheiched, idroi boi de dal hanal. Because Yaakov, Vino was miyached, delayed in paying off his neder, he came to these 4 things. Arizal, shenemar, hasidah, v'sanakan echa. He told his children to get rid of these idols. It's in Arizal. Give Aroyas came about the Teitze Dina. He went out to the Meister of Shechem. Give Aroyas. Shkechastam b'Shechem. The killing of the city of Shechem. Lashon Hara v'Yishma. Divinei b'nei Lavan. And you know Lashon Hara. Esau shebeshvil shelo Moshe b'Sigmus b'nei Yisrael. And the Menachem also said, because Moshe Rabbeinu saw the suffering of b'nei Yisrael. Moshe because of the opposite. Loisah, he saw the suffering. He had Shenosan Leiv also Loisah. He concentrated, put his heart onto thinking about their suffering. They made their work very heavy, The work that was fit to give to a man, they gave to a woman. The opposite too. Moshe saw this. He studied this carefully. He changed this around. Remember, it's fit to a man, he gave to a man. Among the men themselves also, he saw carefully to give each person that which is fit for him. Hashem said to Moshe, because of this, he be zecher to be matli neder. And then it also says, the neder is between husband and wife. So we see there that there's a neder of husband and wife, just like by the work, giving the work to the right party is corresponds to the unit of neder. So that through by being careful to give each person his exact measure of work, this the schar is the person is he is saved from the dalad midas, because through a neder is guided to 44 things, like the Menachem Mendel Schneerson. That means that he's saved from these 4 midas. So remember, by a person who places the burden upon each one kadoi, he's saved from that means that he is saved from these dalad midas. The Hovein understand how important it is to be manhig b'kashrus, to lead each person according to what he needs. Give each person the exact burden that he can take. And for this, a person can be zecher the shahar madrega of being saved from the midas. Exactly today. In your Torah Siddur. Baruch Hashem. Kutayman Tanina Torah Chavches. Lenos is die. You should know she yesh chilukim in Torah. There are differences in the Torah that are said. Yesh Torah is then a Torah. There's a Torah that isn't even permitted to be said at all, to be dashed. Yesh Torah is not the Torah is permitted to be said, to be dashed, but not permitted to be written down. Yesh not the Torah. This one is permitted to even be written down. Which would seem to show that all the Yomos is getting the one is about Peter is shown on the Mechsah. You cannot write down. We see that there is an inyan of things that can be said but not written down. One who knows how to tell a difference, to recognize between titles, which one may be written, which one may not be written. A person has that idea. He's able to recognize a Jew among the Goyim. Even if one Jew is standing among many Goyim, different nations, he can recognize him from among all those people. Besides them, the posek. This says in the posek. Hashem said, I wrote Rubei Tenosi through the Nevi'im. Still, the Nevi'im were like strangers in the eyes of the Jews. Man's al touches this kind of case from Rubei Tenosi. I know it obviously may have right. Rubei means more than is necessary. They write more than they should. When they write down the title which is not supposed to be written down, then they are like strangers, meaning they cannot recognize a Jew. The Jew is strange to him. But the Jew appears to him like a stranger, like a guy. You also make a mistake and think that a guy is a Jew if he writes the titles which are not going to be written down. He can have because the main difference between Yisrael and the Yom Yisrael is it's only the Bechina of Teresh Bal Peh that which cannot be written down. Kamei Isa, as is brought in the Medish, the reason the Teresh Bal Peh was given, Machmas et Sofo Yihiyu Yisrael B'Golos, Hashem said the Jews would be in Golos. Yatiku Ha'umayis Li'atzmon Teresh V'Ksav. The Goyim will write down for themselves Teresh V'Ksav. What they call their Bible. Alkei Nosson Lono Teresh Bal Peh. Therefore Hashem gave us the Teresh Bal Peh. Shezeh Einam Yechem Li'Hatik. Machmashu Bal Peh. This they cannot write down because this is Bal Peh means only by mouth. And now this the Goyim will not have. Imsa Sheikera Hevdul V'Yisrael Al Ha'umayis. The main difference, the tradition which the Jews have over the Goyim, who the chinas perish about perish lint nuchtay. It's only tradition which cannot be written down. Yesh b'kol echad v'yechad v'Yisrael chelik in chinas perish about nuchtay. Each person of the Jews has a chelik in this perish about which cannot be written down. Yalkin adecha b'shamaki ben ataydish lint nuchtay. B'shleim nuchtay v'yachal yihaki ben Yisraeli umais. Person who can recognize different things, the Torah could be written down, cannot be written down. He's able to recognize a Jew among the Goyim. He's naked, have David Canal. This is the main difference, because if he knows which Torah cannot be written down, and every Jew has a chelik in that Torah, so then he can recognize this Jew among the Goyim, because this Jew has the chelik in Torah which the Goy doesn't have. So then he can recognize which person is a Jew. Baruch Hashem. Rabbi Nachman when this shaila comes up in the house of a person through a mixture of isur and heter, the ain beheter kedei levatel is isur, and there isn't enough in the heter being a battle to make void the isur. If it requires a roid majority, so you haven't got 2 against 1, or if it requires shishim, you haven't got shishim and heter against the isur, which means that the whole thing remains isur. For them, because this happened to show the person should pogam the ezehu yichud shemala. It's pagam chadasham on the yichud of heaven. He call ha yichudim, they have zivugim and bechinas bitul isa. Because all the yichudim and zivugim they come combining the ze'ed and nukvah, combining zochar and the keva above and below is the bechina of the mevatul isa. The zebechina, the osalano is ha'arusais, the hitironos and the suais, where there's first there was asur, then the zivig, because of the zivig it became muta. Before the marriage they were asur, now there is heta. So zivig means that isa becomes heta. First she's an arusa the same way she is as asura, she is forbidden for him. Then through marriage it becomes heta, that they both are permitted together. And therefore, Gam beznivigat tachten shel zeh ha'olam. Then by the kim Moshe v'yichidim baisa, beznivigat tachten in this world it says like kim Moshe v'yichidim baisa. Hashem puts together yichidim, 2 separate words, baisa in one whole, meaning it's tzadik, thing together. Moshe Chazal, they wanted actions. The posek inyan zivugim. They wanted posek about zivugim azai mitzi asurim b'kaishoris. And they wanted from this posek too. Hashem took out the suit of the Jews, Bekeshoris, in the month of Nisan, which is a month that's kosher, it's neither hot nor cold, it's medium month. He wanted to actually, this pasuk that's the name of the Kriyas Yamsuf. The name of the Kriyas Yamsuf, because we find that this is better to taking the Jews out of the Israel. And the Taksha is find the Shanas, Ha'isr, kosher, the Heter, it's Yasurim Bekeshoris. You take out the Isr and it becomes kosher. That the Isur becomes kosher and heter, bechinas bittul ha'isur kanal. Through the zivig, there is a bittul ha'isur. Al-ken g'she'ein is battul ha'isur, but if the isur does not become battul in this time of which the shaila asura, and the decision of this shaila is that it's forbidden, it remains forbidden. He simmer she'pogam b'yichud shemayla, the sign that it's a begam b'yichud shemayla, ya'yichud bechinas bittul ha'isur kanal. Of course, if there is no bittul of the isur, that means the yichud is not complete, there is no zivig. When there is a yichud shemala, the sign of bittul ha'isa, the asur becomes mutter, the asur becomes kosher. Baruch Hashem. Put them in Antonina Torah Lamed. Then it says, Kishabos Sefer Chodesh, the Yodom and a new Sefer comes into the world. That means Sefer Chidushim. This has already been explained. Sheyesh chidushim esnaydei demois. Move some additional base. Then there's some additional base in the Likutey on Chelik Aleph. But there are chidushim that are created through tears. Then it also says there that a person before saying the Torah should first cry, shed tears, because the chlippahs come to drink from these waters of the chidushim, and therefore a person should first shed tears. And remember, the chlippahs drink from those waters of the tears, so leave the chidushim go to the correct places. So when the chidushim come through tears, as I elo hadmoy shel chidushim shnehem nasa sefer hachodesh, in indim kregeg gizayres umis mevatel. These tears of these chidushim, in which the sefer chodesh was created, these tears stand up against the gizayres of the goyim, and they mevatel, they make public gizayres of the goyim. The thing is explained clearly. Because the whole koyach of the human asylum is from the tears that Esav shed. It says that Esav cried and he came aside to Yitzchak Avinu to get the brachas. He found that Yaakov had Yalkein, Kishayesh, Elo had Mois had Al. He connected them in the these tears that are shed by one of the Chadash and the Shetayna, then these tears stand up against the tears of Esav, the Mevatla tears of Esav, and they listen, they're going to have no koyach, because the whole koyach comes into Moshe Esav. There, Esav is Bechia, what is Bechia crying, and it contains B'nai Yisrael, Kachel Hayon. The Jews are like the sand by the sea, Ma'achel Hayon, Negin, Ingalei Hayon, Shleiv Shteifu Ha'ilam, just like the sand of the sea protects against the waves of the sea, they shouldn't flood the world. Came B'nai Yisrael, Negin Aleim, Abchia, they had noise, Kenegin Gezeres, so this cannot. So too, the Jews also, the Chiyah, the crying, the tears, protect them against the Gezeres of the Goyim. Then, when you mispart of B'nai Yisrael, Kechol Hayom, mispart Hainu mi Sefer Hanal. Shom B'nai Yisrael, Kechol Hayom. Sefer, that means the tears that come because of the Sefer Chodosh, that makes the Jews like the stand which will protect them against the Goyim. And the Chiyah was Moish, the Chidusha, the Sefer, the Negin Tenor. The Chiyah, the crying, the Moish, they come from the Chidusha, the Sefer, they protect the Jews, just like sand protects the world against the waves of the sea. Baruch Hashem. Menachem says, "Ayadeha negina, through the negina, other nikah, a person can be recognized in kibel olov el teda, where he took upon himself the oil, the burden of teda. The simon for this, remembers in the posek is by kosef yiso, that the bnei kahos should carry on their shoulders. Lashon Arizal, the Gemara Dashan saying yiso lashon shida. Yiso is a lashon of shida of negina. Shenema su'u zimna snu seif. Su'u zimna. Yiso is lashon of zimna of shida. Mikra zeh nema the masa b'nei kahos. This part is by the masa, the load that b'nei kahos carried. Shoyin Leisim by Kosev and Sa'orim, they carried on their shoulders the Orim and the Bechinas El Teda. They carried on their shoulders the Orim, the El Teda. You saw little Zimna, you can recognize by Kosev, then you know the El Teda. The Gina of a person means how he sings in Ign. But Kashas he sings, you can recognize when he took upon himself the El Teda. Baruch Hashem. But then on Antanina, Taida Balad Beis. Ben it also says, Yesh Tzadikim Genusim, Vehem Yidin Ponim Be'Taida. There are hidden Tzadikim who know the inside depth of the Taida. Achim Tzadikim Li'Halim Taidosam, but they have to hide their Taida, not to reveal it to the world. The Kameshim is Sapin and Maisa, they Hashem Taivim Adashin. Like they tell the story of Hashem HaKodesh, the Darshan came to the table of Hashem HaKodesh at Mechavrayah. The Darshan spoke to the Taida. They kept on giving him food, and he kept on saying Teda, and they laughed at him, because they thought his Teda wasn't worth anything. Finally, the Darshan saw they were laughing at him, so he said, so if I can't tell Teda, I'm not allowed to eat a piece of fish. Hashem HaKodesh saw the embarrassment of the Darshan, so he said, let me hear the Teda. He heard the words of the Darshan, and Hashem HaKodesh said that the Darshan's Teda was received directly from the Pi Eliyahu Avizal. He got it from the Yerushalmi. You see from there that there are tzadikim, hidden tzadikim, who hide their Teda. Even this Teda, even when it was said, it was hidden from the Yerushalmi. So Moshe Feinstein no one understood it. Began etzla yesh l'ponim sheyedei Teda sheyesh l'ponim, and l'ponim b'Teda, v'yitzorach lehalima ve'ena imra. Times that he knew Teda, and he wouldn't say it, he had to hide this Teda. L'ponim ena kaisva, at times, any case of klal, times he didn't write it at all. At times it did get to the point of writing, and afterwards he had to burn it because it had to be hidden, this Teda. If it would have been written, this Teda, the whole Seder could have been made of this Teda. It would become famous among the world, the Sefer. Also in the Sefer there are Shemus of Hashem. The pasuk says that Shemi Shnach Bekdusha. My name of Hashem is written Bekdusha. The meaning of Saita. But Arizal bring later. But the Olam spoils this because of the union of the Taiva Yedua. They have to hide and burn this Svarim. So it's a favor for the world that these Svarim are hidden and burned. Because there are many Svarim that became Svarim as written, and they were erased and lost from the world. It's certain that the great tzadikim of the past, and such, made many Svarim, but they were lost. Certainly there have been Svarim that have been lost. But it's a favor for the world those Svarim were lost. Not for the fact that those Svarim were lost, were wiped out, it will be impossible for us at all to come close to Hashem. There are many Svarim of Apikursim. If these Svarim of Apikursim would be spread about in the world, it would be impossible to come close to Hashem. The King of the side of the Shvatim, after Shlomo Melech, he made 2 golden calves, and he said to the Jews to worship them. He misled all the Jews to worship these 2 golden calves. Can it be possible? Can a person really imagine it's possible he was able to mislead such a great people with such a foolish Indian as to serve to worship golden calves? How could he have done it? He certainly had in this many deep wisdoms of Apikursis, and that's how he was able to mislead them. Now those deep wisdom of Apikursis were written in Svarim. If now there be found even 1 page of those Svarim, the people would be very far from Hashem. It would be impossible today to come close to Hashem. Because these Svarim would certainly mislead the people of this lower generations. Therefore, there's now a favor for the world, the fact that the Svarim Kedishim of tzadikim are hidden and burned. The reason that this is a Torah Yavim, he has Sefer Bechinas Shem Hashem. The Sefer is called Shem Hashem. The Bechinas Migdal is Shem Hashem Bo Yorev Tzadik V'Niskav. Posek says that the Shem Hashem is a fortress which the Tzadik goes around and is protected by. He said the Zayda Kodesh Shem Hashem Do Sefer. The Shem Hashem means the Sefer HaKodesh. Ki Sefer B'Mispah Shem Kamuva. The Sefer is the Gematria Shem. Ki HaSefer Bechinas Shmi Shenichtav B'Kedusha. Sefer is the Bechina of the Shem Hashem, which is written B'Kedusha, and it's Pashik Ba'olam V'Yos Hashem. It's written B'Kedusha, and it's spread out among the world, and it creates a name. Da Shekol Echad B'Yechod Tzorach Lishma is Bechinas Mashiach Sheyesh Chai. Now the Menachem says you should know everyone is supposed to guard the Bechinas Mashiach that he has. Each person possesses a Bechinas Mashiach. Each person, according to his Kedusha and his Tahara, that's how he has a Bechinas Mashiach. He has to be very careful to guard it carefully, that his Bechinas Mashiach shouldn't become spoiled. The main thing in which is dependent this Bechinas Mashiach on a person is to guard against Niyaf. Yes, Mashiach is the Bechina of Chaitim, the nostrils, as the posek says, Ruach HaPeinu, Ruach HaVah nostrils is Mashiach. The Niyav Toli B'Chaitim. The Niyav is Toli in that part of the Chaitim. Meshikos of Lois in Af. Isa, Medrash says, Lois Hena Af. So we see that the Niyav is Toli in the Af, that's the nostrils. Person has to guard even from the Deyach of Niyaf, a trace of it. Because even this Deyach Niyaf is Pagim, the Bechinas Mashiach, which is Chaitim. B'chinas Mashiach hu sheda alam pe'eraisa. B'chinas Mashiach also rests on the point of the Torah. Yehainu asfonim ha'kedoshim shemigalim ha'ponim shel ha'Torah. These asfonim ha'kedoshim which reveal the opinions, the inside of the Torah. Yishom medachev ruchei shel Mashiach. There sweeps the ruach of Mashiach. B'chinas ruach halikim menachefes al pnei hamayim. The spirit of Hashem hovers over the face of the waters. Ruach halikim the ruchei shel Mashiach. Shemenachem al pnei hamayim. Umayim ha'Torah k'momen. Ruach halikim the ruach of Mashiach, which hovers above the waters, which are the waters of Torah. So mainly we see that the ruach of Mashiach rests on these sforim that are called Shem Hashem. בעד הבן סודישנו שבחינס רוח הפן המשיח השם נעשה רוח קינו שהלך ומקנה בכל מקום שבית שם ניב ונעשה רוח קינו ומקנה על זה. And everywhere that where there is a niv, where there is niv, where the niv is found, so this ruach hapen, this ruach Mashiach becomes a ruach kina, a spirit that avenges, that warns and avenges for this against this niv. The good with kedusha and taras because of the great kedusha and tara of Mashiach. At times there is mekane in a case where there is tumor. At times there is an ruach kino even where there isn't any tumor. Because according to the greatness, the power of kedusha and tara, even though there was no tumor, so he's mekane of Mashiach and mekane even for the stira alone, where there was an of where she was hidden, and they didn't reach the tumor. And the sight that Isha, the woman, was hidden, where they did not get to the tumor, still he's mekane against that. Because even the stira itself is considered a pigam against the great power of the tara of the ruach kina, of Mashiach. And that's how it is that upon a get. At times it comes because of this, a get leads to divorce. El kinikra get sefer krisus. Therefore, a get is called in Torah sefer krisus, the sefer. A get is called the sefer that cuts between the two of them. Kinas hayidei sefer sheshom shereruch shel Mashiach shehu ruach kina kanal. Because this is created through, this get comes through this sefer, on which sefer there rests the ruach shel Mashiach, which is the ruach kina. We said the sefer, which is Shem Hashem, there sefer Torah, there rests the ruach shel Mashiach. Ruach kina chas b'nei hamayim. Ruach Mashiach is on the Pnei Hamayim, Mayim is Torah, this is Sefer. Cheshem Mashka, Yisrael Mayim Yoradim, or else he to make her drink the bitter waters, Yazai, the cursed waters, Yazai Nevdekes in Ditmor. And then she is tested whether she became Tomei. In Lav, Azai Adirat Meniksa, Nizra Zera. She didn't become Tomei, on the contrary, she is pure, and she's blessed with children. So all this comes through the Ruach Kina of the Ruach Mashiach. Was the kana even for Reich of Niyuf, even for Stira alone. Dash yesh yichud tato shebezeh ha'olam shehu b'kashus godel b'kedusha v'tara kol kach. There is a yichud tachtoin, a zivig l'mata in this world between husband and wife, which is with such a great kashus, such kedusha and tara at sheboy toli yichudei law. That upon this yichud tachtoin is dependent the yichud of heaven, yichud in heaven. Shehazug behind this pair, this couple, the husband and wife, kshedim kol kach. They are so kosher. She kshedim mi'oid v'ein bo shum shemetz posel. She is completely kosher. There is no trace of any psul in her. The gam kosher mi'oid, and he is also very kosher. The zivug and the kashus of kedusha kol kach. The zivug is with such kashus and kedusha sheboy toli yichudo ilo that them is dependent the yichud ha'elyon in heaven. Yichud shemnichush v'ntei. Because the Gemara says that Ish and Isha, they are Zech, which means they are Zakoyim, they are Tzadikim, the Shechina rests among them. Yesh by Yud uvo Kei. In the word Ish, there is a Yud between in the word, besides the word Ish. In the word Isha, there is a letter K besides the word Ish. If they are not Zech Echas V'Sholem, so the Shechina leaves, Yud Kenis, and you have Ish and Ish, Ish Rechlasim. If they azech and the Shechina rests among them, they have the Yud K between them. Shezeo Yichud Ha'ilo. Yud K meaning that that's the Yichud Ha'aliyah. Yichud Ha'aliyah, which is Shentay. Shezeo Hazi, Yichud Ha'tato, Hu Yokah Mi'oid. This Zivig and Yichud Ha'tachtoin is very, very precious. Mayachash Ha'leseh Ha'ilam Nasa Yichud Ha'tato B'Kedusha Kazu. Since in this world, in this lower world, Asiya, there is made such a Yichud Tachton, such Kedusha, Shabai Toli Yehuda Ilah. This Yehuda Tachta is dependent on Yehuda Ilah, Yehuda Ayin in heaven. Nina Ruach Kina Shabachim is Ruach Mashiach Kanal. This Ruach Kina, which is Ruach Mashiach, Shul Mikane on Niyuv, who is Mikane against Niyuv. He warns, he's jealous, he warns, he avenges Niyuv. Mahu Isakan, what does he do in a case like this? Where there is no Niyuv, there's no trace of Niyuv, there's such complete kashrus, what does he do here? The items, they are so holy and so pure. Achtav, the Rebbe says, you know, Shekan Bo Ruach Kina B'Shvil Avo. If Ruach Kina comes because of Ahavo, then you have jealousy for the sake of Ahavo. Isa B'Zayda Kodesh Zayda it says, Kol Rechimusa D'lai Kashir Imo Kino, Lav Rechimusa Rechimo. Any Ahavo, which is not bound with Kino, and then Ahavo, not a real Ahavo. Which means, if a person really has Ahavo, then he is jealous of his Zug. He's jealous of his Zivig, jealous that he should remain purely his. The Avo, it must be in the same way that I guess Kina. That the Avo is good when there is Kina there. The Kina, the jealousy shows how great the Avo is. Most of the greatness of the Avo between them, and he warns so do not be hidden with anybody else. The Avo shouldn't be spoiled, Chas Hashem. That Poyel Kana Ruach Kina Hanal B'Shvil Avo Kanal. This Ruach Kina, which comes to this place where there is so much kashrus and so much Avo, this Ruach Kina accomplishes this much here that it serves as a Kina on the place of Avo. The fact is, still this Yehuda that Tachtain is in this world. It is possible this Ruach Kina, this Ruach of jealousy, it can actually spoil the peace between them. Because the Kina, although it's for the sake of Avo, it's possible this Kina should create the machlekes between them. But the fact that he warns her, she can take offense at it, and this can cause machlekes. They can spoil the shalom bayis in the case where even where there's such ahava. Therefore, the man who knows his die should know, because of this, because of this fact that there is a case here where the ahava, the shalom bayis, can be spoiled because of the Ruach Kina, therefore the great tzaddikim have to hide and burn their Torah. That this Ruach Kina should leave in order that Ruach Kina should not spoil Chas Hashem, the Shalom Bayis of this holy Zivig. Because the Yehuda Tachtain is very precious. And when this Shalom between them is spoiled through this Ruach Kina, who has to go to the earth, is a very great loss.